Hello everyone, Vanakkam. Welcome back to Xylem. Welcome back to the world of English. My name is Nasser Faruddin, Faculty of English. And in this video, we will be discussing two interesting chapters from our core textbook, Flamingo. The first chapter is Poets and Pancakes, and the second one is The Interview. Both these chapters are a bit different from the chapters we have learned so far. The narration and the structure of these chapters are a bit different and confusing, I would say. And the first chapter is Poets and Pancakes. The title itself is interesting, something that is curious. And this is not a story actually, this is a memoir. These are real life experiences of the author. And do you know who the author is? He is from Tamil Nadu and his name is Ashokamitran. Ashokamitran is a well-known, popular Tamil writer celebrated for his sharp observations and simple, humorous style, simple, humorous language. He worked for many years at Gemini Studios. As we both know, Gemini Studio is one of the popular studios in Tamil Nadu as well as in India. And the setting of the story, the setting of the incidents is Gemini Studios, Chennai, one of India's biggest film studios of the time. Even now, we know about Gemini Studio. His experiences at the studio gave him rich material to write about everyday life, people, and film world. So his experiences were his content. His experiences were his materials for the writing. Poets and Pancakes is a memoir. I have already mentioned it. Poets and Pancake is a memoir. It's a memoir piece from his book My Years with Boss of Gemini Studio, giving a realistic and humorous picture of what happened inside the studio. Right? What happened inside that most celebrated studios of that time. Let's begin. And what is the setting of the story? What is the setting of the chapter? The chapter is set mainly inside Gemini Studios, Madras, now Chennai, in the 1940s and 1950s, right? So that period is very important. The focus is on the makeup department, story department, and the general environment of the Gemini Studio. Let's delve deeper into the chapter now. Let's begin with the title. The famous Pancake makeup. Pancake is a makeup set. Let's see. Pancake was a very popular makeup brand used in Gemini Studios. So the title is, now the title is clarified. Pancake is a very popular makeup brand used in those times. The studio bought it in very large quantities, almost in truckloads. Truckloads of pancakes or makeup materials were, imported to the studio, Gemini Studio. Many famous actresses across the world were believed to have used this brand. And Ashokamitran is giving us a very elaborated description about the people who used this popular brand in the beginning of the chapter. And since it is not very important in our examination point of view, I'm not, listing the name of each and every person. The makeup room of Gemini Studios was set up an upstairs room of a building that was once thought to be Robert Clive's stable. What is a stable? A stable means a horse shed. Stable is a horse shed. So it is believed to be, the stable of Robert Clive. Robert Clive is a British politician, British, statesman. Okay, it is believed to be his stable. And the makeup room, a place of suffering. How come it's a place of suffering? I'll explain. The makeup room had about 6 mirrors, each surrounded by bright lights. So if I am sitting here for the makeup, I have to face these bright lights directly to my face and eyes. And similar to the barber shops, these strong incandescent lights. You might be familiar with this, right? So right now we are using CFL, chlorofluorocarbon, and other modern technologies, but in those times it was incandescent lights. It was very hot. It will become very hot after a couple of hours of use. The strong incandescent lights caused a lot of discomfort to the actors during makeup. And the makeup department had workers from many different regions and communities. So it was a unity in diversity, I would say. Okay, makeup department had people from different regions of India, different communities of India, such as Bengali, Maharashtrian, Kannadiga, Andhra, Anglo-Burmese, Indian Christian, and Tamil. Right? So it was a conglomeration of all these religions and regions. This mix of people showed natural national tradition. So it shows, he humorously says, natural national integration, long before Doordarshan and All India Radio ever tried to promote it. So in later period, maybe after the independence, Doordarshan and All India Radio, tried to, or they have conducted a lot of programs to promote this national integration, this unity of this very large country. But much before, even before that, this Gemini Studio was an example for this national integration. He says natural national integration. And the hierarchy in makeup. So there is this hierarchy. There is this step-by-step thing. Okay. A strict order was followed in the makeup room. Chief makeup man, main actors. The chief makeup man will make up the main actors, and senior assistant will make up the second hero or heroine, and junior assistant will take care of the comedians, and office boy will take care of the makeup of crowd actors or the extras, we would say. And the office boy mixed the makeup in a big vessel and applied it very roughly on the extras, because the makeup of the extras are not taken care of well, because it wasn't meticulous, it wasn't very sharp, because those people were extras, not given that importance as as the main actors or the second hero or heroine or the comedians. So it was just a activity for the sake of doing it. And the makeup boy and his frustration. The makeup boy is one of the interesting characters in the whole narration. Even though he is addressed as makeup boy, he's not a boy. He's approximately 14 years. The office boy was actually a man in his 40s, not 40 years, in his 40s, early 40s maybe, who had once dreamed of becoming a star writer or director. So he came to Gemini Studio years before to become a star, to become a writer, to become a director, but unfortunately he couldn't, fulfill his dreams, and he ended up being an office boy. He believed he was a poet. The office boy believed himself that he was a bit of poet. He often disturbed the author while he was working and talked endlessly about how his talent had been wasted. So he was a chatterbox. He kept talking about his abilities and how his talents had been wasted, how he ended up as an office boy. Right? So he kept talking, he kept communicating this with the author when he was working. So he was a kind of disturbance for the author. He blamed all his failures on Kodamangalam Subbu. Again, this is an interesting character. Kodamangalam Subbu is an interesting character in the story. And how is Kodamangalam Subbu related with the office boy? The office boy always complained, always blamed all his failures on Kodamangalam Subbu. Who is Kodamangalam Subbu? Who was the most successful person in the studio at that time. Kodamangalam Subbu was the most successful person of the Gemini Studio at that time. Now we'll discuss who Kodamangalam Subbu is. Kodamangalam Subbu, the creative genius. Kodamangalam Subbu, the creative genius. Subbu was the number 2 at Gemini Studios. Who is the number 1? The boss. Okay. That's how he's addressed. The boss, maybe the manager, maybe the owner. Okay. And Kodamangalam Subbu was the number 2 at the Gemini Studios. He was cheerful, happy, loyal to everybody, especially to the boss, and always ready with creative ideas. He was very creative, and whenever there is a creative dilemma, whenever there is a creative confusion, maybe for the boss, he is the one who comes to help. The boss depended on him for almost everything. The boss depended on him almost everything. Subbu could quickly suggest many alternatives for any scenes. So he was that creative. He could suggest, multiple alternatives for a scene. He was also a poet, a writer of story poems, the author of the famous novel Tillana Mohanammal, an excellent supporting actor. So he was everything. He was everything for that matter. And Subbu was extremely generous as well. He was very kind. He was very loyal to every other people, helping many relatives and visitors. Despite all these good qualities, good virtues, moral values, he had enemies. Dushman. Mainly because of jealousy. People are jealous about him. His closeness to the boss. Okay, people are jealous because of his closeness. Close association with the boss, and his yes man nature. He was always ready to help people, right? So because of all these traits, people are jealous of him, people hated him. And the story department and the legal advisor, again, this is another episode that happened in Gemini Studios. Subbu officially worked in the story department. Which Subbu? Kodamangalam Subbu officially worked in the story department, which included poets and writers. Story departments includes means poets and writers. One member of this department was the legal advisor. One member of the department was the legal advisor. He's not a poet or a writer. He's a legal advisor who always dressed in Western clothes. And once, this legal advisor accidentally ruined the career of a young actress. How did this happen? I'll explain. But keep in mind, once this legal advisor accidentally ruined or put an end to the career of a young actress, he recorded her emotional outburst on set and later played it back. Right? So it was an accidental thing. He didn't do that purposefully, but still, he purposefully recorded the emotional outburst of the actresses, but he accidentally, showcased this scene again in the Gemini studio, which made people think that she's very emotional, she's not professional, and it kind of, resulted in the end of her career and embarrassing her in front of everyone. Later, the story department was shut down and the poets were removed. The story department was shut down and the poets were removed. As a result, for the first time, a lawyer lost his job because the poets were fired. Right? He's humorously narrating the incident. And poets of Gemini Studios. The studio had many poets, including SDS Yogya, Sanku Subramaniam, Krishna Shastri, and Harindranath Chattopadhyay. Right? All these poets were there in Gemini Studio, and they enjoyed good coffee and spent time in relaxed literary discussion. Right? So they engaged in a lot of literary discussions. Most of them were Khadi and followed Gandhian principles. Now we are talking about the politics. They strongly disliked communists. Most of the writers, most of the poets strongly disliked communists, mainly because of common misconceptions. So there were a lot of misconception about communist ideologies in those times. In reality, they did not understand true communist ideas or world politics. Even though they discuss politics, literature and everything, they didn't truly understand communism or world politics according to, our author. And visit of Moral Rearmament Group, MAARA, Moral Rearmament Group. I'll explain. In 1952, after the independence, a group called Moral Rearmament Group with about 200 members from different countries visited Madras, right? And we don't know about, they were unaware of their intention, and they were means the people in Gemini studio were unaware of the intention of this group. They performed two plays. One was Jadam Valley and the other one is The Forgotten Factor. The plays had simple moral messages, but their sets, their properties and costumes were outstanding. Tamil drama groups copied these stage techniques for many years afterwards. And the staff of the Gemini studios enjoyed hosting the MAARA team because it brought a pleasant and refreshing change to their routine work. So it was a refreshing experience for the people in the Gemini studios. The mysterious visit of a British poet. Later, the studio prepared for the visit of a British poet editor. The workers knew only the famous English poets Wordsworth, Alfred Lord Tennyson, John Keats, Percy B. Shelley, Byron, and similar names. Okay, so these are very famous names, and the workers knew only these names, and they didn't know the name of the poet who arrives at Gemini Studios. The visitor turned out to be Stephen Spender. Who was the visitor? It was Stephen Spender. He was also a very famous poet. A modern poet, but no one recognized him at that time, right? So that time, which means in 1950s, Stephen Spender was not very famous. He was a modern poet. He started writing, okay? And he just started writing. The boss delivered a long, unclear speech filled with big words like freedom and democracy. The boss of the Gemini Studios delivered, an unclear speech with pompous words. And Stephen Spender's own speech was difficult for the studio staff to follow because of his foreign accent. Studio staffs could not comprehend the speech of Stephen Spender because of his accent. And in the end, both the visitor and the studio workers were confused about why the visit had happened at all. This is important. Why did they visit us? Why did they talk to us? What did they talk to us? No, people were confused. And discovery at the British Council Library. Discovery at the British Council Library. Sometime later, the author noticed a short story competition organized by the British magazine The Encounter. He went to the British Council Library to look at copies of the magazine, The Encounter. There he discovered that the editor was Stephen Spender. The editor of The Encounter, the magazine, was Stephen Spender, the same poet who had visited Gemini Studios earlier. The author felt a deep emotional connection as if he had found a long-lost brother. Okay? Because he had already seen, maybe interacted with Stephen Spender. Final realization, the God that failed. Listen to me. Years later, the author found a cheap copy of the book, The God That Failed. The God That Failed. Okay? The author found this book. The book has essays by writers who had abandoned communism, and one of the contributors was Stephen Spender. Okay? Right? So the book had essays by writers who had abandoned communism. Writers who once were communists, later they abandoned the communist ideologies, and one among those writers, contributors, was Stephen Spender. Suddenly, the author understood why the Gemini Studio staff, mostly Gandhian and anti-communist poets, had reacted coldly to Spender during his visit. The mystery of the poet's visit became clear. The boss had unknowingly hosted a writer connected with the anti-communist ideas. So the author realized the fact. And conclusion. Poets and Pancakes gives a humorous yet realistic account of life in Gemini Studios. It shows the chaos behind filmmaking, means the problems behind filmmaking, the strange connection between politics and cinema, the personality clashes and ambitions of people working there, and the unexpected appearance of a world famous poet in a Tamil film studio. And the chapter ends with the author realizing how small incidents in life gain meaning only years later. Okay, so that is Poets and Pancakes for you, ladies and gentlemen. And the next chapter is the interview. The interview. Right. So, who is the author of the interview? Actually, this is an interview. So, we have two people. One is Christopher Sylvester. Christopher Sylvester is a British journalist and writer focusing on media, interviews, and public communication. And interview is one among those public communications. And we have Umberto Eco. Umberto Eco passed away in 2016, very recently. An Italian scholar, semiotician. Semiotician means a person who studies about science, okay, or maybe language. Philosopher and novelist, famous for The Name of the Rose, and it is his famous work, The Name of the Rose. He taught at the University of Bologna and wrote extensively on literature, semiotics, and philosophy. He wrote a lot about these topics. And what is the setting of this chapter? We have two parts for this chapter. The first part is a general history and perspectives on interviews. The history of interviews, the perspectives of interviews. And not a single physical setting, but a discussion of journalism over 130 years. And part 2 is the interview with Umberto Eco, conducted by Mukund Padmanabhan from the Hindu, mainly set in Italy. Okay, Umberto Eco's office or home. And let's begin, ladies and gentlemen. It's a bit confusing chapter, but I'll make it clear for you. Right. Part 1. The nature of interviews. The nature of interviews. It's a general, perspective on interviews. Emergence and popularity. How did interviews emerge and how popular it is? Interviews became a common journalistic practice over past 130 years. So it has a rich heritage. Nearly everyone reads interviews and celebrities are often interviewed repeatedly. Should I say that about more? Because we are seeing a number of interviews in social media of celebrities. Varied opinions on interviews. Some consider interviews as an art form and source of truth. Some considers interview as a very positive thing, as a very sublime thing. It is an art. Interview is an art, and it's a source of extracting truth. But others, especially celebrities, view interviews as an intrusive or diminishing. It's an intrusive process. You are intruding into the life of other people, and it is diminishing the people, the peace of mind maybe. And famous personalities' attitudes towards interviews. The first one, V.S. Naipaul, believed interviews can wound people and make them lose part of themselves. So V.S. Naipaul had a negative impression about interviews. And Lewis Carroll, Alice in Wonderland, you remember? Lewis Carroll had a horror of being interviewed, avoided being lionized giving autobiographs. And again, not a very good opinion. And we have Rudyard Kipling, Jungle Book, the author of Jungle Book, called interviews immoral. He called interviews immoral. It's not a moral activity, and likened them to assault. Right? Rudyard Kipling compared interviews to an assault. Though he interviewed Mark Twain earlier. Double stand. And we have H.G. Wells. H.G. Wells, a number of books are there, referred to interviews as an ordeal. Interview is an ordeal. So it's a parikshanam. But participated in them frequently. He participated in a number of interviews, even though he considered it as an ordeal. It's a punishment. And later interviewed Joseph Stalin. Double stand. And Saul Bellow compared interviews to thumbprints on his windpipe, showing discomfort despite cooperating. Right? So windpipe, when you have thumbprint on your windpipe, it is very difficult to use that. Okay. And importance of interviews. Why interviews are important despite all these negative comments? Despite criticism, interviews are powerful tools of communication. Interviews are powerful tools of communication. They shape how people perceive contemporaries and current events. Okay, and the interviewer holds significant influence as much as information reaches the public through question and answers. So interviewer has significance in the process. Theme of part 1. Interviews balance between being a valuable source of insight and potential intrusion into personal life. So there is this two sides of a coin. And part 2. Umberto Eco interview. And introduction to Umberto Eco. Umberto Eco was a professor at University of Bologna, scholar of semiotics, medieval aesthetics and literary interpretation. He was an expert in all these genres. Became internationally famous after publishing The Name of the Rose in 1980, which sold over 10 million copies. That particular book was sold over 10 million copies. Oh my God. Eco's philosophy of work. Eco claims he's always pursuing the same philosophical and ethical interest through all his writing, novels, essays, children's books. So he's following a same ethical philosophy in every works. He utilizes interstices, which means small empty moments in daily life, productively. Example, writing articles while waiting for an elevator. Writing articles while waiting for an elevator. In our times, in our period, it is practically impossible because we don't know how to use time. When we are waiting for the elevator, we'll most probably scrolling down the Instagram. And unique academic style of Umberto Eco. Eco narrates scholarly research in a story-like manner, right? So he keep it simple. Scholarly research in a story-like manner. That is interesting. Including trials and errors, unlike traditional dry academic writing. He didn't prefer dry academic writing, which are not at all interesting. This narrative approach led him naturally to writing novels starting at the age of 50. He started writing at the age of 50 and he wrote a number of books. And novelist versus academics. Eco considers himself primarily as a university professor who writes novels as a secondary activity. For him, writing novels was a secondary activity. Primarily he considered himself as an academician. He is concerned that people know him only as a novelist, not as a scholar. So he had that concern. He wanted to be recognized primarily as an academic rather than a novelist. Novels allow him to reach larger audience than his scholarly works could. It's also a fact. And the success of The Name of the Rose. Though a detective novel, it explores metaphysics, theology, and medieval history. Its mass appeal surprised publishers and journalists who underestimated public interest in serious fiction. The novel's success is partly mysterious. Timing and audience taste played key roles. The success of the novel, because it sold over 10 million copies across the world, and the success of the novel was partly mysterious. People couldn't explain the reason behind the success of such a novel. I mean, it is not bad, but it is not a popular fiction. And Eco's reflection, Eco's thoughts. Enjoys simple entertainment but also challenges readers intellectually through his writing. Believes novels are a tool to combine scholarship and storytelling to reach wider audience. And what is the theme of part 2? Interviews reveal the personality, philosophy and working style of Eco, showing the human side of Umberto Eco behind the fame. Okay? And overall themes and messages of the story or of the chapter: power and influence of interviews, public and private life, passion and philosophy in work, success and mystery. Okay, these are overall themes of the story, right? So that's all for today, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you have enjoyed the chapter, and please do let me know your comment box. Sorry, let me know your comments in the comment box. Let me know your feedbacks in the comment box. Please do that, okay? And Check the description box for a chapter test. I have prepared a chapter test based on the two chapters we have learned in this video, and do check the comment box and attempt the examination. And also, you can scan the QR code and join our WhatsApp community in order to avail the free handwritten notes. You do not have to worry about your privacy. It will be secured. It will be 100% secured, and do join for the notes. Okay, so thank you everybody for watching. I'll see you in yet another video. Till then, this is Nasser Faruddin signing off from Xylem Learning. Happy learning, everybody. Thank you.